Let's talk today about 7 creatures from a series that helped me enjoy legends and mythologies. 7 bizarre creatures from Supernatural. The Indigo, when we're really talking about legend, is a Native American legend. Basically, it's about a spirit that can possess or even transform into a human, or it can also come about through cannibalism. The Indigo appears in the 2nd episode of Supernatural when Sam and Jim travel to Blackwater Ridge using coordinates from their father's journal. There, at one place, they end up meeting Ranger Wilson, and he mistakes the two of them for acquaintances of someone named Haley Collins, who is the sister of a boy named Tommy, who had disappeared during a camping trip with 2 friends.
No, sir. We're environmental studies students from Boulder, not planning to go to Blackwater Hill.
So Sam and Jim kind of pretend to be those friends and end up visiting Haley. She shows them the last video that Tommy sent her on his cell phone before he disappeared.
It's 3 frames, a fraction of a second. Whatever it is, it moves.
I said there was something wrong.
Well, then Sam does some research and finds out that people disappear in Blackwater at regular intervals, right? Every 23 years. He also plays Tommy's last video in slow motion, and he and Jim spot a shadow moving extremely fast on the tent wall. They then go visit Shaw, who is a survivor of an alleged bear attack from 1959. And the old man tells them that it wasn't a bear that attacked the family, but rather a creature that was smart enough to unlock the cabin door, or rather, open the cabin, right? And it howled a lot, too.
It wasn't from a man or any other animal.
And it moved like lightning. They return to Blackwater the next morning and arrive just as Haley, Ben, and their guide Roy are leaving for Tommy's camp. When they arrive at the camp, the group finds torn tents and damaged equipment, and screams are heard in the distance. Everyone runs to investigate, but there's no one there. And when they return to the camp, the backpacks are gone. Well, with the help of their father's diary, they realize they're facing an Indigo.
Indigo, an indigenous word meaning the evil that devours, has existed for centuries. Each one was once a man, or an Indian, or
a pioneer, miner, or hunter faces a problem as their weapons are useless against a threat. Jim draws protection symbols around the camp and argues with the protagonist about whether to continue the hunt or search for Jim's father. Jim insists on helping the others, calling it a family business. Cries for help are heard again, and Roy ignores Jean's warnings, running into the dark with his weapon. Jean is then caught by the Indigo in a tree and disappears. Well, Tommy might still be alive because the Indigos kind of hibernate there and like to store food for later, right? It's like preparing a lunchbox. They follow the Indigo's bloody trail, carrying Molotovs, as fire is the only way to kill the Indigo and many other monsters in the series. Rory's corpse falls from a tree and the Indigo appears, which makes everyone end up scattering, splitting up. Haley and Jim are captured by the Indigo, but Sam and Ben follow a trail of peanut M&Ms that Jim left behind. They finally find Jim, Haley, and Tommy hanging from the ceiling of an abandoned mine. Jim finds 2 flares, along with the rest of their stolen belongings, while Sam leaves with the brothers. Jin attempts to distract the Wendigo, but it corners the group. Jin shoots a flare at the Wendigo's chest, setting it on fire and killing it. The group then escapes and calls for help. If you enjoy this type of content, please like, subscribe, and share the video to support the channel. Death, the eldest of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, also called the 4 drivers of the apocalypse as they drive cars in the series, is known as the Pale Rider, or Angel of Death. I can make a video about them if you want. Anyway, he is an ancient and powerful entity. Or at least I thought he was, right? Anyway, you'll see. Well, according to him, he has existed since the beginning of time alongside God, and Death is so old that he can't even remember who's older, him or God himself. He is the personification of the concept of death and mortality of all living beings. During the days of the apocalypse, Death was connected to Lucifer and waited for Swinchester to find him. Death then voluntarily gave Gene his ring so that he could stop Lucifer and imprison him back in his cage. After the fallen archangel was defeated, Gene even tried to give the ring back to Death in exchange for him taking Sam's soul out of the cage. A few years later, Jim summoned him again so that Death would kill him due to suffering from the mark of Cain. But Death had said he wouldn't do it because that would release the darkness. He offered to take Jim somewhere where he would still be alive but wouldn't be a threat, in exchange for Jim killing Sam. But of course Jim wouldn't do that, and then comes one of the most ridiculous scenes for me, which finally made me start to doubt the quality of the series, which is when Jim kills Morty with his own scythe. Changelings are basically a type of fairy in Celtic mythology. They kind of kidnap children when the parents get distracted and put their own child in their place, a really weird being, right? That would behave really badly. In Supernatural, the legend isn't that different. They are extremely ugly and very bizarre beings. I still vividly remember the first time I saw it. The creature's face scared me a little. And that image there actually reminded me of a villain from the Powerpuff Girls. It's a guy who used to suck the mayor's head. I'll show it to you guys. It looks really similar to me. In the series, Sam and Jim encounter the Changelings in Cicero, Indiana, and the kidnapping of the local children there is all orchestrated by a changeling mother who disguises herself as an adult woman. These beings steal the children from the neighborhood during the night and then take their place. The real children are kept alive in a cage in the basement of an abandoned house in the middle of the construction site so that the changeling mother can feed on them. The Hakishas, as the series itself says, are beings from Hindu mythology. They're kind of demons, and they also feed on human flesh. But Supernatural gives them a kind of Western vampire trait because, they can't enter people's houses without being invited. In fact, in the episode that focuses on them, in the second season, the Hakishas wears a clown costume so that children end up inviting him into their house and then he ends up killing their parents. Also, according to Sam, they are known for their traits of eating human flesh, sleeping in beds of insects, and shape-shifting to disguise themselves as humans. Fortunately for humanity, the Hakishas eat in moderation every 2 decades due to a very slow metabolism that affects their digestion. The Hakishas can't enter someone's house, as I already said, without being invited. And to avoid drawing attention to themselves, they adopt a life of poverty, some even living as vagabonds. The one from the clown episode ends up being a guy from the amusement park who the being kills with a metal thing there. Rougarou is a legend from the French side of Canada. It would basically be their version of the werewolf. And in Supernatural, Rougarou is a creature with an uncontrollable hunger for human flesh that can even have children, who at first seem like ordinary humans. But as time goes by, they can turn into cannibals and take on a very strange form. I still recall the episode featuring this legend. Well, in that episode, Sam and Ditton are watching him when he ends up doing that, which is actually a pretty disgusting scene. The one who had given Sam and Jim the tip for this hunt was Travis, a friend of theirs who had hunted the Rougarou's father a long time ago. Travis wants to kill this guy no matter what, but Sam believes the guy will be able to control himself. I guess you can already imagine what's going to happen, right? Well, Sam ends up convincing Jim to talk to the guy, and that's what they do. And the guy doesn't really believe them and ends up telling them to leave his house. There's a scene where he watches a woman and seems about to attack her, but restrains himself. But Travis breaks into the guy's house, ties up his wife, and intends to kill him and his wife, who is also pregnant. The guy kills and eats Travis. With no other choice, Sam kills him by burning him, the only way to kill a Vulgar. The Sirens in Supernatural are pretty similar, at least in their intentions when they attack, to the Sirens from Greek mythology. But the difference is that in Greek mythology, sirens are basically birds. Well, in Supernatural, they take on various different forms to attract and force humans to do really strange things to prove their love and devotion to them. These acts are often violent and usually end up resulting in someone's death. However, not much is known about them due to the fact that they are really rare creatures outside of Greece. The true form of a mermaid is a horrible monstrosity, hairless, and basically humanoid, with thin and inhuman facial features. Like many creatures in the supernatural universe, they are able to take on multiple forms to deceive their prey, usually transforming into a person their victim desires greatly, such as a lover, a friend, or anything else that person might wish for. In the episode where they appear, she makes Sam and Jim fight each other. They end up being saved because of Bob. Well, Leviathan in mythology, or rather in the Bible, is just one creature. It's kind of a sea dragon. But in Supernatural, Leviathans are the oldest beings created by God. They were trapped in purgatory until Castiel decided to open it and absorb them. But he can't handle it for long, and he ends up literally exploding in the water. Leviathans spread worldwide, led by a man named Dick Roman. Many events unfold. There are the Leviathans creating a burger joint to make humans more edible. There's Kevin translating tablets. There's Bobby being killed by one of them and becoming a vengeful ghost. A Leviathan and an alpha vampire engage in combat. The Leviathans broaden their scheme beyond merely fattening up and harvesting humans, but also to exterminate humans with undesirable qualities. People who are too skinny or too sick or things like that. They promise to do this through a dairy cream developed to kill only people with low body mass. However, of course, Sam and Jim end up stopping this, right? Jim stabs Dick, kills him, and that ends up sending him and Castiel to purgatory. After the death of their leader, the Leviathans become pretty disorganized and aren't that big of a threat anymore. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, share, and comment if you'd like a part 2. Thanks.